Alright, ladies and gentlemen, next lesson for this week. We're going to do 7.5. I think you'll like this one more than yesterday's. There's a little bit more like number math involved rather than just like the thinking and the conceptual part of it. So again, yesterday's, if you need any help, you got to let me know. I'll help you out. But I think today's lesson, I think you'll enjoy. So let's take a look. Alright, 7.5 is on a rate of change, which is a totally new concept for us. Our learning target is I can calculate rate of change using a table and a graph. So we're going to take things that we've been working on the last couple lessons this week, and we're going to calculate something called rate of change. So what rate of change is rate of change is a ratio that describes how one quantity changes in relationship to the other. So if one set of numbers goes up, does the other one go up too? Does it go down? And how fast or how slow? So our formula for rate of change is fairly simple. It's the change in y over the change in x. Change in math is a very specific word that allows us to calculate the difference of something, and we should know that difference means it's a subtraction problem. We're going to actually talk about that more tomorrow. So here's our example. Our example is car washes and how much money you make. So if you wash 3 cars, you make $24. If you wash 5 cars, $40, $7, $56, $9, $72, and so on. So you'll notice I did a little math in there for us already. So I'm looking for the change. How much does something change? So our car washed, that's actually our x, and it goes from 3 to 5, 5 to 7, 7 to 9. So you'll notice that those are all a difference of 2. So I add 2 each time. Our money is going to be our change in y, and I go from 24 to 40 to 56 to 72. And those are all a 16 change. Okay? So if I'm going to write down my rate of change here, the first one is change in y, and that's going to be 16 because it changes each time 16. So I have $16 over my change in x is 2, and specifically 2 cars. Now I'm going to simplify that. So 18 over 2 is the same as I'm making $8 per car wash. Now a couple things we need to remember when we're calculating rate of change. One, sometimes it's kind of confusing to figure out what is my x and what is my y. I will tell you that 99.9% of the time if money is involved, it is y. I'll also tell you that 99.9% of the time, if time, whether it's minutes or hours or seconds or days or years, whatever, if that's involved, that's going to be our x, and that'll be very, very helpful for us. When we're calculating rate of change, we also want to make sure we have 2 things. One, you need to have labels. If you don't have labels, it is an incorrect answer. Rate of change involves quantities, which is like a number of something, so you need to talk about what it is that you're discussing. In this problem, we're talking about money and cars. And then the other thing we need to do is you want it like per one item. So it's per car, or per minute, or per day. So you want to make sure that we're simplifying as best as we can. All right, let's take a look at a couple examples using tables, and then we'll take a look at a couple examples using graphs. So number 1, I have minutes and I have cost. So if I take a look at my minutes, we're going to see they go from 1,000 to 1,500. So that's a change of 500. And then from 1,500 to 2,000 is a change of 500. And then 2,000 to 2,500 is a change of 500. Now it is good to double check and make sure that you don't just do one of those, that you do all of them and make sure that they're staying consistent. Now my change in cost is going from 38 to 50, so that looks like that's plus 12. And I want to make sure that the other ones are also plus 12 before I finish my problem. 50 to 62, and 62 to 74. Okay? Alright, now we can go ahead and we can finish our problem. Change in y and change of x. So if you remember, we just talked about this. Money is always going to be our change in y. So that change is $12. And then time is always going to be our change in x. So that was 500 minutes. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and simplify this by dividing those two numbers. So if I do 12 divided by 100, I get 0.024. and we're talking about money per minute. Now this one's kind of strange because that does not mean 24 cents per minute. That actually means 2.4 cents per minute. So if you want to round and get rid of that 4, you're more than welcome to. So your answer would be 2 cents per minute. Okay, let's take a look at number 2. So I'm looking for my change by looking at my table. So my time is, it looks like it's changing by 2. So 1 to 3 is 2, 3 to 5 is 2, and 5 to 7 is also 2. So I got that one. And then pages left is going from 12 to 9. So the change is not plus 3. It's actually going to be minus 3. 9 to 6, minus 3, and 6 to 3 is minus 3. Okay. So I'm going to do my time first, because I don't have money in this one, so I'm going to do time first, and time is going to be our change in x. Okay, if time's involved, it's always going to be our x. So that changes, that looks like that's going 2 minutes. Which means my pages left, that's going to be my change in y, and it's not just 3 pages. Okay, it's negative 3 pages. And I go ahead, I'm going to simplify that by just doing negative 3 divided by 2. And I get negative 1.5. You can do a decimal or you can do a fraction. It's totally up to you. And then don't forget your label. Pages per minute. Okay. All right, let's take a look at number 3. Number 3, it's still a table. It's set up a little differently for us, and it has our x and y in there, so that's really nice. Let's take a look at our x. Our x looks like it's changing by 2. And our y is changing by 192. And if you need to use a calculator for that, you're more than welcome to. So our change in y is 192. And here's how I got that. I know that was the y. Okay, I know that was the y because it's in my table. And that's number of steps. Don't forget the labels. And then my change in x is 2 minutes. If I simplify that down by dividing, 192 divided by 2, I get 96 steps per minute. All right, number 4. I've got my x is our time, and our height in feet is our y. So my x, that one's pretty easy. That one's just changing by 1 every time. And our y, if you need to use a calculator, from 456 to 268 is negative 188. So I'm subtracting. And then 268 to 80, I want to make sure it's the same thing, and it is. Negative 188. So our change in y, there's our y again. Our change in y is negative 188 feet. And our change in x is just minutes? No, seconds. And then this one, you probably don't need a calculator for. It's just negative 188 divided by 1, which is negative 188 feet per second. So hopefully that helps you figure out how to find rate of change using tables. All right, not only are we going to look at tables today, we're also going to look at graphs, and I think that these are pretty easy. So remember that the horizontal, there's my x, and my vertical, there's my y. So my labels are going to be on our graph just like we talked about yesterday. And I'm going to find change in y first. And what I'm going to do is I got these 2 points on here. There's one and there's the other. So I want to go from the first point to the second point. So it looks like I have to go up. I got to go up to there. Now if you look at your labels, it's not counting by 1s, it's counting by 4. So our change in y is actually 12. And I'm going to write that down right away. 12 gallons. And then to find x, I have to start at that top point and go over. And that one's counting by halves. So it looks like I got 1, 2, 3. So 3 minutes. And then we need to simplify. 12 divided by 3, 4 gallons per minute. Alright, next one. Okay, I'm going to always do change in y first when I look at my graphs. It's a little easier, so I'm going from that point right there to this one over here. So I'm going down 1, but you need to double check. Is that 1? Looks like this one is 1,000. It's 1,000 feet. And our change in x goes from 2, 4, 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4 minutes. Oh, I forgot to add my negative in here. See if you can figure out why it's negative. So it's negative because I'm going down. I went from 3,000 to 2,000 feet. So if I simplify, negative 1,000 divided by 4, I get negative 250 feet per minute. Alright, number 3. So a lot of different options here that I can pick from. I have multiple points. I'm just going to pick the first 2. So my change in y, I'm going up 1 time, but if you take a look at my labels, that's actually 20. It's $20. Then my change in x, I'm going over 2 hours. Simplify by dividing. 20 divided by 2 is $10 per hour. Alright, last one. I can pick multiple points again. I'm just going to pick my first 2 there. I'm going to do y first. So I'm going down, so it should tell you what kind of number I'm talking about here. And it looks like these ones count by 10. So that is 30, but it's negative because I'm going down, and it's gallons. And then I need to go over to my next point, and those are counting by 1, so that's 4, and it's minutes. I need to simplify by dividing. Negative 30 divided by 4, and I do get a decimal point, and that's okay. Negative 7.5 gallons per minute. So there's our graphs. Now a couple things to remember here before I let you loose to work on your iExcels and if you choose to do that blue worksheet. Labels are very, very, very important, and you need to make sure that you are simplifying when you're getting your answers in rate of change. I do want you to point out, if you take a look at our graphs, notice I have 2 that are positive and 2 that are negative. So if we look at this graph, what do you notice about this graph and this one? Those are both positive. And then what do you notice about this one and this one? Those are both negatives. It appears to me that the 2 positives are going up and the negatives are actually going down. We'll talk about that a little more with tomorrow's lesson. Don't forget to message me if you need any help on Schoology, and we can set up in a meeting. Peace.